Okay. Hi. I feel like a vlogger. Have you ever been sitting in a library and sitting there not knowing what to read? Well, do I have the video for you. Hello and welcome to Magali Reviews Books. Today I'll be rating books I've read over the years. I'll be giving you my opinion, my rating, and telling you whether or not they are worth it. I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Start off with our main protagonist, Pip, for a capstone project in her class. She decides to research a case that happened 5 years ago. Throughout the book, Pip uses interviews and log entries to keep track of what's going on. The interviews provide Pip with a lot of information as well as many secrets, and eventually, Pip gains allies and as well enemies. The trilogy then continues from the first book by how her solving this case has led to consequences like Pip's obsessiveness to try to solve cases and eventually losing herself despite the warnings she was giving when she first began. Overall, I really love this story and series as a whole. It truly meant so much to me, and when it was just the books that got me back into reading, and I just enjoyed them so much. I enjoyed the plot and the story. I thought everything made sense. It is fiction after all, and there are some moments where it can be rather gruesome, but overall I love the interactions and just how the way Holly writes. I will give you a warning, it's in third person, so there might be some instances where like you might get off-put by the writing style, but as you begin to read on, it's like it gets really good. As well, you have to keep in mind that the beginning is rather slow, as like you're getting like an introduction to the book, but this series is like my holy grail. It's the series that just has so much good memories behind it, and just remember always having like being on the edge of my seat. I just enjoy it so much, and overall I rate them 10 out of 10, and I really hope you give them a try. I am sure all of you know or are very aware of these books by now, but I wanted to give you my 2 cents on this trilogy. We meet a protagonist, Abby Grims. She is currently a high school student who is determined to go to college and has little money to her name, until she finds out that she was given an inheritance by a millionaire to the name Tobias Hawthorne. The question is, she has no idea who Tobias Hawthorne is, or the reason why she inherited all the money. Along with the inheritance, the condition is she must live in the Hawthorne house where Tobias and his family live. She meets the grandsons of the man who gave her the inheritance. The house is filled with rooms that contain puzzles and riddles that he adored. To win, Avery must play the game that Tobias Hawthorne left before. Tobias Hawthorne left behind in a world she never knew before. I started the Inheritance Games trilogy in the summer before my senior year. They were really easy to read, and honestly, I finished most of the books in 5 days. Jennifer has a way of enamoring the reader and like falling in love with her characters and her world that she creates. This book is filled with mystery and puzzles, and the characters are honestly really well developed for a YA novel. Of course, there are some aspects where you can tell it's a YA novel, mainly because of just some of the terminology it's used, and as well as like the quick pace. There's really short chapters in this trilogy, so if you don't really like long chapters, I truly recommend that. As for the characters, one of the characters I personally enjoyed together are Jameson and Avery. Avery is the main protagonist, and Jameson, he's one of the 4 brothers, and they had kind of a little bit of like a plot point. They're kind of like romantic. So I really enjoyed their interactions, and Jameson honestly had a lot of growth from being this cocky like privileged boy to honestly truly like showing that he cared about Avery. In all honesty, I truly rate these books a solid 9 out of 10, mainly because the Final Gambit I had just a few issues with, mainly because I didn't really like how the series ended. I thought Jennifer could have ended it in a way that where Avery could have just, I feel like, solved it better, and she made some choices with the characters that I didn't feel really correlated with it. But in all honesty, the series is really great, and I truly recommend to anyone who picks them up, because mainly, look at the art! Like, just look at that! Like, look how beautiful it is, and once you read this story, you can honestly start, like, recalling some of the references that the covers use. Like, this all makes sense once you read this trilogy, and I say you give it a try. Alright, so yes, it's another series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So I do not own it, but that's why we have the internet and these beautiful graphics.
Similar to Avery, Cassie has no mother. An anecdote that I noticed with this author is that her characters always have a dead mom. I don't know why, but it's a similar plot point. Anyway, we meet our protagonist, Cassie, a 17-year-old girl who's a natural at reading people. She can piece together who you are and what you want with the slightest details. One day, the FBI comes knocking on her door, stay with me, stating that they have begun a program that uses incredible teenagers to solve cold cases. Someone like Cassie. For Cassie, it seems like there is more at risk than what meets the eye. She is sent to live with a group of teenagers who have naturals abilities and more unusual abilities like her own. Not everything is what it seems as a new killer comes to light and danger arises for Cassie and the Naturals. The Naturals have to use their abilities to survive. Ooh, spooky.
So in short, think of the Naturals series as Criminal Minds, but they're all teenagers and they're all just like Spencer Reed because they just have these incredible powers that no one can really explain. Like, they're not supernatural, but they're like just abilities that not one who just typically have them. So this series, honestly, it was really good. Like, it at the start of it, since it was Jennifer Lynn Barnes, I didn't expect much going through it, but since it was an older series of hers, honestly, it surprised me so much. I will admit though, it's quite gruesome in some aspects, mainly because like it is the FBI and we are talking about cold cases that these teenagers are like doing and experiencing. Like, despite them not being like somewhat in the actual field, like they are still like reviewing these cold cases that could be like quite gruesome for younger viewers or like younger readers. So despite it being YA, I do give a warning, but in all honesty, the characters were really refreshing. I do love how like they have very distinct personalities despite them being all of like the same category, like a natural. One of my favorites, honestly, of character development was Leah. So Leah is kind of like this cocky girl who doesn't really like to show emotions, but we didn't like see some of her past come through, and then we learn how like why she acts the way she does and how her ability kind of affected like the way she acts in some cases. And while she can be a bit stubborn and a bit she can make you angry, I will admit, because of the way her interaction with other characters and the protagonist, but she was really refreshing, as well with Michael and then Dean and then Cassie. Just like the way Jennifer writes like characters, I truly enjoy. It was really fast paced and it was really easy to read once again. Overall, I rate this series, since it has 4 books, 10 out of 10, because out of all the series I've read, this has to be by far my favorite, and I truly hope you read them. Hello, I'm here with
Kent Sidden.
And today I'll be asking him what series has been your favorite so far, and what do you rate it?
My favorite series that I've read is The Inheritance Cycle, and I would rate it probably 9 out of 10.
What was your favorite part about it?
There's a large component of magic and there's a lot of magic, and then there's dragons. So I loved kind of the mystery, the fantasy that went along with kind of understanding the universe.
Thank you. So once again, I am a teenager on the internet, so none of my opinions really matter. So read what you like, do not bash other people's interests nor what they like to read, and I really hope you enjoyed my rating of different book series, and I hope this helped you in your next read. So I'll see y'all later. Bye! And subscribe!
Except if you bash my favorite books, because I will be deeply offended. Bye!